Hello and welcome to another edition of the Super Show. This is a special edition, a WNBA slash MLB combo. I'll be going first with WNBA because the slate locks in approximately 2 hours. And have no fear, I will go through as fast as possible while giving you the best possible information. And then we'll get to Pete, who I believe is going to be covering not only the main, but also, I think, the late. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. So let's just jump right in. If you guys are watching live, we appreciate it. Thank you for the support. If you have any questions there for Pete or myself, drop them in the live chat there to your right. We'll answer those throughout the show. Nice little 3-game slate here for DraftKings, also on FanDuel, of course. First game is Las Vegas versus Washington. Odds on this one, Vegas is minus 7.5. It is the highest total of the day at 167.5. The Mystics will, of course, still be without Elena Deladon, so EDD as we affectionately call her. They'll also be without newer acquisition Sydney Weiss, who's a guard dealing with an injury. I do see Erica McCall is starting to draw some ownership, especially on FanDuel, where she's under 5K. She's about 6'6" on DraftKings. Her position isn't really correlated with Weiss necessarily. She's more of a 3-4, so I'm a little personally puzzled by that ownership projection. I think I'll probably be fading her just because Tina Charles and Maisha Hines-Allen are really taking all the rebounds, all the down-low looks, pretty much all the shots in general. So McCall, I guess maybe it makes sense on FanDuel a little. I just don't see her getting enough minutes to really be viable on DraftKings. Ariel Atkins and Natasha Cloud make sense as GPP plays, especially Ariel Atkins, who at 8'8" has been averaging right around 28 fantasy points per game. Her last two, she's been over 29. She's taken double-digit shots in every single game this year, except for the first. And she's actually taken 6 to 10 3-pointers in every single game. So she's chucking at a higher rate. Without Weiss, who just stands in the corner and takes threes herself, that's about 5 to 6 threes a game that are available. I imagine Atkins will probably take those herself. And then Natasha Cloud, her price is down to 7-1 on DraftKings. She's really interesting at almost, 30 minutes a game, 35 minutes a game, but she's really not doing a whole lot. She's below 20 fantasy points on the year. So I'm not that interested in her, to be honest. And then as far as Tina Charles, MHA go, Tina Charles is 11K now. The spot you really want to target against Vegas, they have one of the best front courts in the league. You want to target guards against them, so that would be Atkins or Cloud. This is really not going to be the best game for Tina Charles. But with that being said, like I said in my write-up, you really can't bet against her right now. Every time I think she's going to regress a little bit, the return of MHA, she's still going, nuts. Playing a team like the Sun, who have one of the best defenses in the country, she drops 54. So I'm really not sure I can advocate fading her, but I'm not going to be primarily building around her either. 11K is a really tough pill to swallow in terms of actual price. And then when you look at her price on FanDuel, it's 8.2 compared to Jonquel Jones, who we'll talk about here in a second, at 9K. So it is more doable there, but I think everybody who follows WNBA or plays daily like I do, you're going to prefer to play Jonquel Jones over her anyway. So for GPPs, it makes a ton of sense to go ahead and play Tina Charles. It's just a super high opportunity cost for an inevitable down game that has to happen. I mean, she's a good player, but it's not like she's the best player in the world. She's going to have a regression game. So we're kind of betting on it like, those of you that follow me for CBB when we're always fading a chalk Luka Garza and waiting for these regression games. 2 years ago, for me, it was Marcus Howard. It just feels like Tina Charles has to have a down game. Vegas, tough defense. This could be it. I do like MHA a lot, 9.4. She's almost 2K cheaper than Tina Charles. She has back-to-back 30s. She's getting full minutes. She's starting again. No minutes caps. And as long as EDD is out, MHA should get a bulk of the usage right, next to Tina Charles. So those are the two Mystics plays that you really want to be looking at with a little Ariel Atkins. For Vegas, Liz Cambridge let us down. She had a really prime matchup against the Liberty, and she only played 24 minutes, got 26 fantasy points. She had a hard time with Kaya Stokes, who also we're going to talk about a little bit later. That was a really obvious at 9-9 playing Asia Wilson. I had her in all my alts, but I didn't play her in my main. So, I can sit here and play that game of I should have played her. I did have some, but of course she put 60. Now she jumps from 9-9 to 10-9, so she's now higher than Liz Cambridge. Looking at the total season, Asia's typically going to be around 30, 35 fantasy points. So at almost 11K price point, I would rather just take the extra 100 and in that case play Tina Charles. Cambridge is back down to 9-9. She's okay too. I mainly prefer GPP in this game in general, even though it's one of the highest totals on the slate. Jackie Young is below 8K now at 7-7. She's playing over 35 minutes. Chelsea Gray's 9-1. Kelsey Plum is back, who's at 6K. Plum only played 13 and a half minutes last game, though, so I imagine that she'll be slowly brought along, even though she looked really good in that Olympic qualifying tournament, so I thought she'd play more. She's interesting at 6K, but yeah, it's really Jackie Young for me at the 7-7 price. You see, she played 40 minutes in her last game. She's been hovering around the mid-30s. She doesn't contribute a ton of other stats. She's averaging about 4.5 rebounds, which is solid, but it's really all about scoring for her. She's going to, score 14, 15 real points and typically hover around 25 to 28 fantasy points. So when she's below 8K, we should easily eclipse 3X. In WNBA, score markers a little bit different. You guys will hear me talk about that occasionally. You really want to get 3X return on your salary, so 3 times that amount. In cash games, anything over that's, amazing, 4 or 5X. And I think she should easily be able to do that for us. Moving on to the next game, Chicago and LA. This will be the final time of the season these two teams meet. There was a lot of excitement about Candace Parker playing her former team, the Sparks. They've played, this will be the 3rd time in a week now. Unfortunately, Parker's hurt. She will not be playing them. It's a -2 spread for the Sparks. The total's the lowest on the slate at 159. But I'm not really worried about that. Both teams are extremely short-handed, especially the Sparks, who continue to let us down. It feels like it might be in poor taste, but I feel like it's an abusive relationship with the Sparks. They keep being short-handed. They keep popping in all the ownership, projections in general, and they keep letting us down. But we keep going back to them because they have 8 healthy players. That'll be the case again tonight. Nneka Ogbuke is out again. Her sister Shanae appears to be out. We know that those are 2 of their main front court players. Jasmine Walker, the rookie, is hurt and she's out. So it's really going to be Nia Coffey and Amanda Zawi playing those big minutes for them in the front court. Erica Wheeler is a nice play. Brittany Sykes, Christy Tolliver, and Taya Cooper. Those are going to be the main rotation players, with Aurelia Garantes and Bria Holmes playing some minutes. So it's really, I keep telling myself every slate I want to fade these guys and not play them anymore, but it's super hard not to want to play them. So Nia Coffey's especially, I think, an important play, especially on FanDuel at 5-7, where she projects over 5X. And I think even on DraftKings at 8-2 compared to Zowie B's 8-4 price tag, if I can only play one, I'm going to go Coffey. I think I want to get exposure to both because Zowie B, she's more of that inside-outside player where she can hit threes, she can bang down low, and Nia Coffey's going to be that person that's blocking a bunch of shots, getting steals, racking up fantasy points via the peripherals, whereas Zowie B is more of a scoring and a rebounding play. Sounds like my daughter's getting into something. And then Taya Cooper were to start at 5-6. I think that's a really good play if she sees over 20 minutes. She's been a big-time scorer the last 2 games, and she's looked pretty good. The only other guard I really have interest in, and I'm still debating with myself, is Erica Wheeler, who at 7-4 is probably the safest Sparks play on the slate. She's averaging almost 20 fantasy points per game, but 3 of her last 4, she's been over 27. So it seems like she's starting to slide into that alpha guard role and now starting to get it done. For the Chicago Sky, we mentioned Parker still out. I haven't bet on Courtney Vandersloot at all this year. I'm finally going to be rostering her. I think it's 10-1, so it's a tough price. But looking at it, they don't have a backup point guard. They just traded their rookie draft pick, Shyla Hill, for the wings for Dana Evans. So Dana Evans is going to be sliding into that backup role, but she's still not going to play big minutes. So Vandersloot's playing a career high, over 34 minutes right now. I don't know how long this can last, but right now she's playing amazing. She's averaging over 34 fantasy points a game. 2 of her last 3, she's been over 40. We already know she's a triple-double threat. She's one of the best assist producer in the game right now. So if she's scoring, which she's taking double-digit shots recently, we know she's going to put up a double-double. So I am on her at the 10-1 price tag, especially with Parker out. I'm really scared to see what that noise is. Diamond DeShields at 8-3. She had a really bad game recently, so that's going to push her ownership down. I just keep on playing Diamond DeShields. She's just my girl, man. She had that 40 recently against the Sparks. She did have an almost 30 fantasy point game. She's going to play roughly 35, 36 minutes. So 8-3 is a nice little price dip on her. I like to kind of buy that dip, if you will. So I'm in on her. Whereas like somebody like Kalia Copper, who's interesting at 7-9, she's more of a scorer who had a nice game. She struggled against the Sparks last week. I think I would rather just pay the 400 more for Diamond. And then forwards-wise, I'm not on Hebert or Endu. With Parker out, they're seeing more minutes. But Stephanie Dolson is back now from her Olympic qualifying. She's going to be demanding 22 minutes. And then Azura Stevens is starting to look really good. She played 3 straight games over 25 minutes now. She's starting to settle in. You see 2 of her last 3, she's over 25 fantasy points. and her price isn't moving. She's still only 7K. So I'm a big Diamond and Azora fan, typically every slate. So it's seeming like I may have a Chicago Sky mini stack here, run back with maybe Nia Coffee. Last game on the slate, New York Liberty versus Connecticut Sun. This one should be, it's projected a blowout by WNBA standards. The Sun are -9. It could be worse than that, though. 161 total. We do know that the Liberty have been way worse on the road, especially Sabrina Ionescu. Connecticut's they're gonna own here. Jonquel Jones is very expensive on both sides. 10.8 on DraftKings, 9K on FanDuel, and she has to be a core play on both. Anytime that we're facing off against the Liberty, you guys know that we've got to, go on in that team's lead front court player, and sometimes take two of them. So I'm pretty confident John's, 40 plus. She has a prize picks of 44, which I'm hitting the over today. I think she's going to sail past 50 or 60 with blocks, rebounds, everything. Liberty just don't have any good answers for front court players right now with Natasha Howard out. They are starting to play Kaya Stokes more, which is helping, but I still don't think they have the chops to go against Jonquel Jones, who's just having a massive season and is the early favorite for Defensive Player of the Year. Also, I like Brianna Jones at 8.6. Her price is high. I'd like to pay low 8K for her, but I think on FanDuel she makes a ton of sense because they rarely raise her price above 6K. She's a monster. She's averaging 6.5 boards per game. I could see her easily eclipsing, a 4X, 3X kind of thing against this Liberty team. I just don't have any faith in the Liberty right now outside of my girl, Benajaya Laney. Probably not playing Bonner. We talk about it all the time. Bonner's really a girl you want to play in close games, not blowouts. And then Heidemann, January, Jasmine Thomas are all kind of cannibalizing each other. For New York, it's Benajia Laney at 9.7. She hasn't been below 20 real points all season. That makes her floor extremely high. Add in a couple rebounds, assists. That's going to push her right around 30, 35. So if you want a nice, safe 35-ish fantasy points, Laney's definitely the play. She's good at on the road or at home, where I said like Sabrina, she's very bad at on the road for whatever reason. And then I think we may have to play a Liberty player because they have cheapies. Kylie Shook, who's starting. Kaya Stokes, 6'4", who played, 30 minutes last game. And then Rebecca Allen, who can get hot at 6'4", who thinks it's a blowout. Plus, Leanna Odom is back from injury now. I think I'm going to go Stokes at the 5.4 price tag. Even if she doesn't start over Shook, we do see the last two games, she's played 26 and 32 minutes. Seems Coach Walt Hopkins has forgiven her. She's going to be leaving at the end of the month for Eurobasket, and I think he was holding that against her a bit by not playing her. I don't know, playing this political game, but it's like at the end of the day, you need somebody who can play. You got to play him regardless. So I think he's finally realized that, and you see she's responded. 31 fantasy points against Vegas, which is monstrous score against them. And then against the Dream, she had 15 after a bunch of 2, 3, 5, 7s. It may be a riskier play if he decides to cut her minutes for whatever reason, but against Jonquel, they're going to need somebody who can guard. Kylie Shook is not that person, so Stokes at 5.4 makes a ton of sense to me personally. And then looking at her FanDuel price, she is 5.5 there, so a little higher on FanDuel after her last game, but big time play. And then Rebecca Allen, her price is up to 6.4, minutes fluctuating. If she plays 22 to 25 minutes, she shoots a ton. The Liberty are basically the best 3-point shooting team in the country. They're taking 40% of their shots from long range. They've made the most. Like, that's their offense. So when Allen's in there, she has the green light to shoot. 6.4 is a little higher than I'd want to pay, but I definitely don't have an issue with it. And that's pretty much it. Prize picks wise, let me tell you guys my core real quick. FanDuel and DraftKings core are pretty similar. Jonquel Jones and Nia Coffee are both players that I'm going to be all in on. And on the DraftKings side, it's Courtney Vandersloot for me. FanDuel would be Brianna Jones. So I'm going two, Sun players plus Coffee. And then on DraftKings, I'm going a Sun player, a Sky player, and Nia Coffee. So a little bit of variety there. And then prize picks wise, Courtney Vandersloot over 32.5. Prize picks, we had that hot first week. Then the second week was kind of, 50-50. And then this week we're running at about like a 60-40 rate. So we're trying to get that back up to the 70% win mark, which is what we really strive for me personally. But Vandersloot over 32.5 fantasy points, and then Jonquel Jones over 44 fantasy points. Both higher marks. Vandersloot should sail past 40 today. Jonquel Jones, I think, should hit 50. So if you're tailing me on those ones, those are the two to go. But that's pretty much it. I appreciate it, everyone. I have a lot of background noise going on, so I'm going to turn it over to Pete to take over, and best of luck to everyone.
Hey, what's up, everybody? So weird coming in second here, but good job, Walt. WNBA locks at 1 p.m. So you guys have plenty of time to get your WNBA in. And I was just looking actually before we start. We have a lot going on this weekend. We have there's a golf showdown still at 12:30. I know Wes has been doing daily showdown articles for golf. Also tomorrow morning is the bigger showdown. That's like at 6 a.m. I think. So yeah, 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. He pretty much does a daily showdown article for golf. There's NHL today at 4 p.m. We'll have information on out tomorrow. A big NASCAR race tomorrow afternoon at 4:12 p.m. Tennis tomorrow morning. I see Devin's been crushing tennis. Also Aussie football 1:20 a.m. So for you West Coast guys, you got Aussie football plus KBO. West is KBO, which pretty much see these guys cashing every night. So there's a lot going on today here at YFC, your Fielder's Choice. And I believe we saw that special for $35 a month for 6 months. All right, so let's get that stuff out of the way. We got 2 slates today for MLB. So I'm going to pretty much hit the main slate, but I wanted to run through the early slate real quick. So this will be on demand all afternoon. But if you're playing the early slate, it starts at 2:10, and we got like 9 games going. So we got actually 2 good slates. So I just want to hit this quick. So for the early, there's no weather problems. If anything, we have some actually, it looks like across the whole country, it's hot. We have some wind blowing out in a lot of games, but nothing to worry about with rain. For Vegas, actually, I don't even have Vegas up here, but we got a bunch of good pitchers on the slate. So actually, what I'm going to look at for pitching is there's 3 really good pitchers. You got Woodruff, man. You got Woodruff, Trevor Rogers, or Giolito going. All 3, I believe all 3 are in play. My top play is going to be Lucas Giolito. I think he's probably in the best spot of everybody. I mean, you look at his numbers; he's not as dominant, but he's got 30% strikeout rate in his last 3 games. He's averaging over 33 DK points. So I think Giolito, when you take into consideration his price, which is 9.5, match up against the Tigers, Giolito's your top play. Now for SP2, the problem is you go with Brandon Woodruff, who's also in a decent spot. He's probably the best arm on his slate, just talent-wise. 31.8% strikeout rate. But he's going up against the Diamondbacks, who do not strike out a lot against right-handed pitching. So you got to make a decision here. Do you go with Woodruff and his 10-3 salary? I mean, he should get you his 25 DK points. Or do you go somewhere else? Because there's a couple other spots. I really like Trevor Rogers at 9K. You're saving $1,300 against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, they scored 9 runs last night, but we all know that Pittsburgh is probably one of the least hitting teams in the major leagues. I think Rogers is probably number 2 beside Giolito in a matchup with Giolito in Detroit. So I'm probably going to run Giolito and Rogers as my other play. Tyler Mahle's also in play at 7.6. So if you want to go really cheap, you can go Tyler Mahle at 7.6 against St. Louis. And St. Louis really isn't hit right now. They're in a slump. You look at some of these guys like Aaron Arenado and Goldschmidt. They don't look comfortable at the plate. The whole team right now is hitting bad. I'd rather play them against a lefty anyways. So if you want to go cheaper, you can go Giolito, Mahle, but I'm probably going to up Giolito and Trevor Rogers. All right, so just going around the bases really quick. My top play is first base. I love first base. So you can either run Vlad or Abreu, or you can go way down. I think Daniel Vogelbach's in a great spot as your cheap play. I like Milwaukee today. Second base, I like Nicky Madrigal. He's my top play there. Third base, Urias for Milwaukee. I think he's got double-digit fantasy points in 3 of his last 5. Shortstop, you got to run Timmy Anderson going up against a lefty Scooble, hard hit contact pitcher, fly ball pitcher. Just run Timmy Anderson out there, even though he's not hitting lefties like he's usually done in his career. He's definitely due for a positive regression. Take Anderson. And then the outfield. One of my top outfielders today is I don't think you can beat the price. Let me just make sure he made the starting lineup. Is Tyler Naquin is back in cleanup against Oviedo for St. Louis at only 3-3. I'm locking Tyler Naquin in my lineups for early. Anybody else? Who else is there? Jordan Alvarez at 3-9, locking him in. Naquin and Alvarez right there, two great players, and you only got it's only going to give you like what $8K in salary. Christian Yelik's in a good spot. Also, Odubel Herrera right now he's actually hitting 279, great price, hitting well, great matchup against Joe Ross and a pitch in a hitter's park. All right, so that was pretty much early, quick. I think actually earlier maybe a little bit of a better slate. I think there's a lot of chalk in the late slate, which we're going to go through. But main thing is got to make a decision whether you're going to go, which pitcher you're going to go with. Like I said, I'm going to go Giolito and Rogers. We can always go Woodruff. All right, so main slate. It's a core slate. Let me pull this up. It's a core slate, and we got some really good pitching. So it looks like there's going to be a lot of chalk on this slate. So we got to decide which chalk that we're going to use. And pitching's going to decide how you can do this. So first of all, no weather. Everything's good. Going to Vegas. Obviously, the core slates are going to be your popular runs. Right now, we're looking at A's 6-1 implied, Rockies 5-5 implied. Nobody else is over 5. Yankees at 4-7. I like that game as they're playing in New York. The Heat wins blowing out against the Red Sox. Both Yankees and Red Sox are in a good spot. And then you got Angels at 4-5. Everybody else is below that. All right, so now we get all that out of the way. Let's look at pitching. It's a DeGrom slate. So I've seen a lot of people saying they're not going to use DeGrom tonight because of his price and they want to get to cores. But I believe that you don't need to worry because I think there's enough value here at cores to deal with it where you can get DeGrom. But to me, DeGrom's the best pitcher on the planet. You use him. Don't think twice about it. 0.071 ERA, 14.5 strikeouts per 9. It's going to cost you, yeah, he's 11-1, but still, you can forego a bat or two for DeGrom. Question is going to be is where are we going to go for SB2? So there's a bunch of different ways we can go. Right now, I'm probably leaning towards Joey Musgrove, maybe using that same game and just kind of stacking that game. Musgrove, it's a 5.5 total implied, so there's not going to be any hitting going on there. 2.08 ERA. He's got 11.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. I think use DeGrom and Musgrove together. There's a couple other ways you can go. You got Kevin Gausman, I think is a really good spot tonight. He's got a 1.40 ERA, 10.6 strikeouts per 9. Going up against the Cubs at home. You can use Gausman at 8-9. I mean, I'm seeing people that are going like Musgrove Gausman. I'm still not taking that chance with DeGrom. Or another play I think is probably one of the better value plays if you want to go somewhere different is actually Alex Cobb at 6.9 going up against Seattle. Actually, Cobb's in a really good spot. I mean, he's had a decent season. If anything, I would go, if I want to save some money, I would go DeGrom at 11K and then go all the way down to Alex Cobb. We know that Seattle's not hitting at all. One of the probably worst offenses in MLB. So why not run out Cobb and DeGrom to be a little bit different? But if I get the money, I'm just going to game stack it, and I'm going to run out DeGrom and Musgrove and move on, and then try to figure out my bats. So that's how I'm looking at pitcher. All right, going around. So, like I said, it's going to be a chalky slate. So let's start with catcher. Cheat sheet's of course, not out yet. Later on the day, just be on our Discord. My top plays is also going to be out. We're going to have probably GBP out article, but definitely the cheat sheets will be out there. Right now at catcher, let's see. I am the top. I mean, the top play of the slate is probably going to be Sean Murphy. I mean, you're getting Murphy. He's a better hitter on the road. Coming off a 3-hit game, home run, 3 ribbies last night, and he gets a lefty. So plus his price, Murphy's only 4-3. Okay, so Murphy's gonna be a popular play. You want to be a little bit different? You got Buster Posey for only $300 more, going up against the Cubs, the Stewart kid. 210 ISO, 371 Wnba, great reverse splits. Posey is like your pivot, GBP pivot. I think he's also in a great spot. Anybody else here? Elias Diaz for Colorado. He's down at 3-3, probably too cheap for a Coors bat. He's got the platoon advantage. I'd have no problem going there. One other play, if you want to be different and contrarian, is definitely probably overall, looking at just overall raw projections, not taking anybody in consideration. Wilson Contreras is probably, William Contreras of the Braves, probably the top play, just looking at his numbers. 316 ISO, 413 Wnba against lefties, but he's going against Clayton Kershaw. So great GBP play, great pivot. If you want to be different, but cash, you're going to want to go Sean Murphy tonight, probably eat the chalk and move on. I see James McCann is at 5K, and he's seeing a righty tonight, Musgrove. So don't fall into that trap with James McCann tonight. All right, so there we go. Catcher, looks like Sean Murphy's our play. You want to be different, Posey, William Contreras. All right, first base, another chalky position. So, one thing I'm noticing here in DFS is my cash lineups are actually doing better in GBPs. Because we're getting stuck on some of these lineups where everybody's running the same chalk, and next you're bubbling a cash lineup. Yeah, in GPPs, you're cashing easy. So just keep that in the back of your mind. But first base, it's all about Matt Olson. Total smash spot. Now, Olson, this is the weird thing. Everybody talks about Matt Olson. Oh, you know what? Go back. I want to go back a second. I forgot his name. For catcher, you want to run GPPs. Victor Caratini for the Padres. Yes, he's going up against Jacob deGrom. Yet, he is 4 for 9 lifetime with 2 homers and 4 RBIs in his career against deGrom. There's only one player right now active, and that's Giancarlo Stanton, who has more homers than Caratini against deGrom. So, I didn't mean to go back to catcher, but if you're running some GPPs, more than one lineup, why not throw Caratini in a lineup against deGrom? Obviously, he sees something that he's comfortable. It's one of deGrom's pitches, and he likes them. Because that's nobody else is even close. I'm looking at only 3 other players even, and this is going back to the Mark Teixeira days, guys that have actually hit. Wow. So, great spot for GBP. Of course, don't play him in cash, but Victor Caratini. Okay, sorry. Going back to first base. So, Matt Olson, you think of Olson as a great split hitter, but actually, if you look at Olson against lefties, he's got a home run every 19 at-bats against lefties in his career. And he actually, since last season, is hitting lefties better than righties. So he's hitting, he's got 260 average this year. So I think he's in a great spot against Kyle Freeland, who's kind of a gas can. He's a ground ball pitcher. High walk rate. Olson is definitely in play here for a bomb tonight. He's going to be chalky, but some people may be off him as they see he's going up against a lefty. Don't fall in that trap. Just play him. A couple other plays you can use. CJ Cron, who's crushed lefties in his career, going against Irvin. He's got 375 ISO in Coors against Southpaws this year. A really good chance for a bomb. Cron may take some ownership away from Olson. So maybe that'll bring Olson down a little bit, which would be nice. Another value play is Lamont Wade. A lot of people don't even realize who he is. He plays for the Giants. Actually, I think he led off last night. He's not got a home run to his last 4 games. He's raking righties, limited sample size, but 280 ISO, 433 Wnba for Lamont Wade. So just somebody different. Anybody else? If Danny Santana gets a start, if he's leading off, he's going against Jamison Talon, who is a fly ball, hard contact hitter. Plus Santana in play. Max Muncy, though, would be a great play tonight, but he left yesterday's game early, so I'm expecting Muncy may not play. But if Muncy does play, he's probably overall the top spot of the slate, not taking into consideration quarters and all that. 250 ISO, 400 Wnba against righties, Charlie Morton. But I doubt Muncy's going to play. We see Ohtani possibly against Kikuchi. You don't be afraid of the lefty-lefty. You can use Ohtani tonight for GPPs. And that's probably about it for first base. Matt Olson's your play. I said if you want to be different, try a guy like Lamont Wade, CJ Cron. There's no pay up to me tonight. Olson's your pay up. All right, so second base. Once again, there's no projections out yet. This is for 7 p.m. slate. Just kind of going through it, just kind of get an idea. The top play, everybody's probably going to be on Jed Lowry. Lowry's price is now dropped. He's down to 3.9. In Coors, going against Freeland. Lowry's a switch hitter, so he'll get the positive advantage. I'm not in love with the play because Lowry, right now against lefties, he's got 083 ISO, but he does have 298 batting average. There's probably going to be a spend down, though, because there's a couple other guys you can look at. Chad Pinder. Pinder may be batting second tonight for Oakland. I would rather play Pinder over Lowry, 227 ISO against lefties. Not a bad play. Brendan Rodgers had another 2 hits yesterday for Colorado in the same game. You can use Rodgers, or I think he's around 3.5. It's probably a cheap spot. If Ryan McMahon, who's day-to-day, if he comes back, McMahon may catch a little bit of love, but you got to realize he's going up against the lefty, Cole Irvin. He obviously hits righties better, but he can lose winning cores. The best play, though, would be Ozzie Albies, but he's going up against Kershaw. We love to play Albies against lefties. He crushes lefties. This year, 339 ISO, 439 Wnba, 339 batting average. But, as I said, it's going against Kershaw. Great GPP play. Anybody else? Rogue Odor possibly against Erod. Rogue can hit the same hand, lefties, no problem. 263 ISO, more of a GBP play. But you want to get somebody from that Coors game, one of these cheap guys. So Chad Pinder, Jed Lowry, or Brendan Rodgers is probably a play. If I'm going to go all the way up, I'm probably going to take a chance on Ozzie Albies probably. But I'm not going to pay. Albies only $4,300 though, huh? But he's going against Kershaw. So just go value. Take one of those 3. My pick would be probably Chad Pinder as long as he's batting second tonight. All right. Third base. Third base is, this one I may try to be different. I went against the grain a little bit yesterday. I used Rafael Devers, and he didn't disappoint. He hit that bomb last night in his first at-bat. I'm a Yankee fan. I've become a Devers fan. Anytime Devers is going against a righty, you want to use him. And the righty tonight is Jameson Tone, who gives up bombs, gives up a lot of hard contact, gives up a lot of fly balls. Devers right now, 388 ISO, 415 Wnba against lefties. Tone is giving up 273 ISO, 389 Wnba against lefties. So it's set up perfectly for Devers to another bomb tonight. Yankee Stadium, wind blowing out. I don't think it's going to be that high owned. A lot of people are going to go to Josh Fuentes at 4K. Fuentes in Coors. All his home runs are in Coors. I think like 27 of his 28 RBIs are in Coors. Good spot. You want to play him against lefty. Lefty's Cole Irvin. Fuentes may be the one catching the ownership. No problem there, but I'm probably going to go the extra. Devers only 4.5. The extra $500 for Devers. Other plays there, possibly DJ LeMahieu. Is first base, third base eligible in DK. He's under 4K now. He's only 3.8. The power hasn't been there, but positive regression is coming. The same with Anthony Rendon. He's sitting down at 3.9. Struggling too. He's all struggling. He's going to burst out soon. He's too good of a hitter. He's going against Kikuchi. So there's a couple different spots you can go if you don't want to go Devers or Fuentes. Run out DJ. Run out Anthony Rendon, GPPs. But I think for cash, I'm either going to go. You either want to go Devers or Josh Fuentes. The way I'm looking at it. Anybody I'm missing? I don't believe so. Yeah, Fuentes or Devers. Shortstop. Shortstop could be a different position also tonight. This may be where we can maybe go against that chalk. My top play tonight at shortstop. I love the way Brandon Crawford's playing this year. I'm probably going to run Crawford out again. Right now, against righties, he's going against the Stewart kid for Chicago. 283 ISO, 420 Wnba. These are elite numbers. Brandon Crawford's having a career year. I always liked him. A great player. Use him. Let me see. He's got 12 home runs through 50 games. He's got, I said, going against Cole Stewart plus matchup. Total misprice. I don't mind if you want to go to Gleyber Torres. I have a gut feeling that Gleyber Torres may take one out tonight. Wind blowing out, he definitely hits lefties better. Going against Erod, 333 batting average, 2 homers and 7 RBIs against Erod. So if I don't go Crawford, I'm probably going to end up going Gleyber Torres. I don't like using Torres a lot. I watched too much of Gleyber Torres, but I think he's in a good spot tonight. Usually Fernando Tatis is your player shortstop, but he's going against DeGrom. Now, if I'm running GPPs, I'm running more than one lineup, I'm going to get Tatis in the lineup. He's going to be lower owned, and it doesn't matter who it is. It's probably the one batter besides Jazz Chisholm that could take the DeGrom yard at 100-mile-an-hour fastball. Anybody else? Bogarts. He's 4'8". Definitely you can use him. Reverse splits against Jameson Tome. He's got 324 batting average against righties, so he doesn't care about the splits. He'd probably be the pay up. Yeah, that's probably it for shortstop. There's not a really lot of plays tonight. Each position's got 2 or 3 plays you can go, and that's it. Okay, outfield. We're already at outfield. My top outfields, I think you got to go the Coors game because they're so cheap. First, let's get Coors out of the way. First of all, you got guys like Charlie Blackmon, made a living, hitting in Coors. He's hit 300 against lefties in his whole career. He's actually got 9 hits in his last 5 games, with a home run, 7 ribbies. Obviously, there's more coming from Blackmon. He's going on a hot streak. I think Black is actually a great spot at 5-2. Cole Irvin throws a lot of sinkers and sliders, and that's what Blackmon hits. So I like Blackmon a lot here. Mark Canha, definitely in a good spot. He's going to be popular. He had a good game last night. I didn't use him, but he did have, I know he went yard. You can use Mark Canha. You got Dazzler sitting there at 3-2. I guess definitely you can use him for Colorado, with the value for 3-3. I guess he is. So yeah, if Garrett Hampson gets the start, which I think he may, he's 5-4. Definitely you can play Garrett Hampson. I'd probably rather go Blackmon, but I'm wondering if Hampson may end up with a bunch of ownership when it's all said and done. So Blackmon, Hampson, Mark Canha are your top play. Jonathan Dazzler out of course. Maybe to be different, though, I think the 2 Yankees are in really good spots tonight. When you got guys like Giancarlo Stanton, 4K or 4-1K, whatever he is, Aaron Judge. Erod has given up 15 earned runs and 23 hits over his last 13.2 innings. Aaron Judge crushes lefties. Maybe you're running be different run at Judge Stanton instead of the Coors guys. The Coors guys can be popular, but you can't ask for a better spot than Judge or Stanton are in tonight, actually. Both of them are in crush spots. And going back to Garrett Hampson, I'm just looking at, his numbers, wow, against lefties. 377 ISO, 484 Wnba, 358 batting average at 540. Actually, he probably is a play over Charlie Blackmon. I didn't realize how Hampson is crushing lefties this year. So you got to pay for him, though, 5-4. Well, I'm not even sure he's going to make the lineup, but if he does, Hampson is in a good spot. Justin Upton just continues to keep crushing. I've been using him a lot this week, and his price doesn't go up at 3.5. He gets a positive advantage today against Kikuchi. 340 ISO, 420 Wnba. Justin Upton probably should be in your lineup every night. We all know for years when Upton goes on a streak, when he gets hot like this, he's going to keep hitting bombs, and that's what he's doing right now. You play Upton until he gets cold again. Let me see. There's a lot of people get JD Martinez. Don't be afraid about Brady. He's in a decent spot. I mentioned Danny Santana because he's outfield eligible also. Santana's in a good spot. Plenty of ways to go here tonight. Alex Vertigo, that's another play I'd like. Vertigo had another hit last night. He was on when Devers hit that bomb. Way mispriced. He's been around 3-2. DK never raises his price. I love him. He's got that speed power combo. Great spot, especially against Talon in Yankee Stadium tonight. So I could definitely see running a lineup with Vertigo, Upton. Then you can get like a Garrett Hampson or a Judge or Stanton, all those guys. So there's a bunch of ways you can go tonight. The main ones I'm going to say, again, Judge, Stanton, Talon, Blackman, Alex Vertigo, Upton. They're your top plays, actually. All right, if anybody's on any questions, this is going to be running all day. So also be on our Discord. As the lineups come out, we'll be talking about the lineups, talking about the best pitching. Let's go to Prize Picks. So actually for Prize Picks, I have a couple Prize Picks for the early slates. I just looked up quick. Timmy Anderson over 6.5 against the Tigers. Take Anderson over 6.5. Vlad Guerrero over 7.5. Take that over. Against Houston today, I think Vlad is in a really, really good spot today. Late slate, I haven't looked at too much, but I'll look at Alex Cobb over 5 Ks. Yeah, Cobb over 5 Ks tonight. Who else we got? Going against Seattle. It's probably for pitchers. I'm not sure about the DeGrom 9, but it is against San Diego. There was one other guy that kind of jumped out at me. Tarek Skubal, I would take the under 6K. Skubal's a strikeout pitcher, but I think Chicago's going to get to him today early. You can take Skubal under, and that's an early one. And then if there's anything else later, I don't see any total bases today. So maybe runs RBIs. Nobody I really like. No, just run with the Cobb for now. Run the early runs, the Timmy Anderson and Vlad Guerrero's over. We'll have some later ones later on the day once I take a good look at them in our Discord. It'll also be out in an article later. So I think that's pretty much it. We have a good slate tonight. Got to make a decision on if you're going to use DeGrom, and if you're going to use the really big value on Cobb, or you're going to go to Musgrove or Gosman, and then how you're going to navigate around the chalk. You don't want to get too chalky in your cash lineups. And what 1 or 2 positions you want to be different. I'm looking at Brandon Crawford to be different, maybe at shortstop, and maybe get an outfielder that may be going against some higher owned guys. Maybe at third base like Rafael Devers. All right, I think that is it. We still have plenty to go today. 2 big slates. Just check it on Discord. We're running it all day. Articles be out. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. That's it. Thank you to Mickey, our producer. Thanks.